Okay, today we're going to take a look at a traditional jiu-jitsu technique known as Waki Gatame. It's a judo technique. If you train judo, you're surely aware of it. It's also in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu curriculum for self-defense. But any traditional jiu-jitsu, you've seen this technique, even in kung fu and different things. So we're going to take a look at basic self-defense from a push, and then we're going to look at it more from a judo or randori perspective. I'll talk about why I don't think it's an effective technique that I can pull off against a trained opponent, but how there are opportunities for different throws and pins on the ground. So we're going to take a look at that right now. So a traditional self-defense technique from a push. Push comes in. What am I going to do? The direction is coming towards me. So all I'm going to do is absorb this and turn. And I'm going to continue to pull my opponent, but I don't want her to walk in front of me, so I'm going to step in front of her to block. Now all I've done is throw my arm over the top. She could try to pull back. Sometimes we'll come down and block against our knee, which prevents her from pulling her arm out. But very similar to doing an arm bar on the ground where we pinch our knees really tight, which makes the fulcrum a lot more tight. We're doing the same thing here with Waki Gatame. I'm turning, my armpit comes over, but I squeeze it extremely tight, and she already feels the pressure here. And now all I have to do is start leaning, but there's an angle change that can make this more effective. So if I take a step more towards her front, this is finishing Waki Gatame. It's banned in tournaments for judo because it's a standing joint lock, but imagine falling directly to kind of an out, case Gatame type sit out. You're going to crush the shoulder and arm, which could be great for self-defense, but we're not going to do that in randori. So one more look. Push comes in, I step back, block my opponent, squeeze the armpit. I could continue going down, I could fall on the ground, or I could just take a step, and there's the tap. Now, if I try this against a trained opponent in randori, she's not going to allow me to pull that. Most likely, we're used to protecting our arms, so she's going to pull that back in. I'm going to use that to my advantage. I could do it from a grip, trying to grip break, or I could do it as soon as she tries to reach. But I know that she's going to pull that. And what happens when you pull your opponent forward, this is kind of the secret of judo, right? Creating Kazushi. You pull forward, they sit back. If I push them back, they sit forward. So if I attempt this Waki Gatame and pull her forward, she's naturally going to sit back on her own heels. And if I step behind her, I can do kind of a sacrifice throw where I fall backwards with her. But we'll look at that again. So using the Kazushi, pulling forward, even if I don't use two hands for the traditional Waki Gatame, I could get this cross sleeve grip and pull like I'm trying to yank her forward for maybe a foot sweep. But as I pull and throw the elbow over, I'm already behind where we can take her down.
Solid bump to the bum.
We're going to take a look real quick at no-gi, because this is kind of intensive grip with the hand, but we can use the sleeve, which I think adds a little bit extra benefit, but there's great technique entry with no-gi, so we'll try that right now. So in no-gi, we just looked at pulling the sleeve and an arm. There's actually some good techniques where you just get an overhand grip, opposite, thumb down, and you can fit in for these tight controls, and you can get the same type of drop. But you'll notice if I'm in here slow and she's going to fight, she feels everything happening. It's hard to move your opponent. This is where I think the initial attempt for Waki Gatame will make my opponent sit back on their heels. So again, maybe I start with this, and I'm going to pull just to elicit this response. She's already weighted on her heels. I just need to step behind. And when I step behind, I really want to try to get Tanio Tosh deep, because it's going to be effortless. There's no extra weight required or angle. So I'm going to just get this overhand grip, pull forward, step deep, and we're both on the ground. One more look.
It's not a total sacrifice because you have my arm pinned.
Well, I'm sacrificing my balance by taking us both down. Key point. Overhand grip, thumb down. Instead of trying to enter, I'm going to pull her. If I could get Waki Gatame, this would be great, but there's no way. No way a trained opponent's going to leave their arm turned over. So I'm just going to use that Kazushi to sit behind. So we're going to look at how a similar Waki Gatame finish on the ground relates to some other jujitsu. Obviously, aikijujutsu, which I train, there are some pins similar to Aikido, where our opponent is, completely flattened out. Their shoulder is on the ground, and just with her palm facing up, it's tight. If I do nothing but move her shoulder forward, it becomes really tight. She's ready to tap. But if I create an angle and start moving this forward, she's going to tap much quicker. And so traditional pins, we would control our opponent's arm, many different things we can do with the wrist, but just by my knee coming down to the floor, I'm going to get a tap even before it hits. And I don't even have a wrist lock or anything controlling that. So it's very tight, very viable, and it has everything to do with the angle and pinning the shoulder. So how can we use that with this Waki Gatame? So if I dropped Waki Gatame standing, I would end up in this position. This is probably not just going to naturally appear when you're rolling with trained opponents. So a lot of times you can get this from turtle, and I bet many people already start to set up this type of control where they're hooking in, kind of inverted to isolate an arm. I can control these. There's many things that can come from this. But if I want to pull this arm out to control it in that Waki Gatame type finish or aikijujutsu finish, there's two things I'm going to do. I don't want her to be able to fight against this stretch, so I'm going to block her face, and then I'm going to drop my shoulder as I scoop my foot out. Now I've isolated this arm. Now, you can see how if I just start Waki Gatame, I could make her tap, but nobody's going to do that. Natural instinct is going to be to turn that, and there's going to be a struggle here. But just as we looked at before, where if I have a high angle and I move it forward, I don't want her to pull her shoulder out and her elbow, so I'm still going to control this, but I'm really happy that she bent her arm. All I'm going to do is take a big step with this leg. I haven't released any pressure from her shoulder. And her hand is, just as we looked at it a second ago, her palm's facing up. I'm just going to start moving this forward and she's going to tap. So if I put a little rigor behind that, obviously there's a lot of control that we can do, but this is super simple. I'm going to look at that one more time. So she's in turtle, even if she's locked up tight and I'm trying to get a cross face or whatever, a lot of times we get this knee in and we're able to secure one leg. I'm going to turn, drop my weight, block her face so I can drop my shoulder to hers. Her hand comes up. Yes, this is exciting. Big step, and then just start pushing the hand. She's going to tap.
So you were here, and then...
Yeah, you get your back knee in deep. Yeah, and you can slide that here and start isolating the arm. Now, there's chokes. You could easily, try to finish with a choke or whatever. But if you want to do the technique we were doing, use this hand and come across my face with your tricep. Yeah. As you drop all your weight on my shoulder. Yeah, I'm going to have to go down. I need to feel as much pressure as possible. There you go. Yeah, and then I'm trying to hide my arm. I think I can hide it. I'm turning. So you need to take a really big step with your left leg.
Forward?
Yeah, forward. Yeah, and then just start, no, you don't need to move your body, just start pushing my wrist until it's going to fall off the edge of your knee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, can I try again?
So I feel a little safe because I'm able to bend my arm, and I think I might be able to turn and get out. But the key piece that you're doing is this big step, and you're just moving my wrist until eventually it would fall off. But I'm going to tap. I'm going to tap before it gets there. Yeah.
Okay.
So you drive your knee in, your other knee.
My back knee?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the hook.
Oh, bless.
Sorry.
Too much Christmas.
So, you want to cut and start?
No, this is real. This is the gags.
I'll have to cut it later. Okay, go ahead.
Just keep going.
Yeah, so back knee, you drive in, you're kind of converted. As soon as you can hook that leg and get the arm. Yeah, I'm worried about chokes and everything here, but you're going to block, drop your shoulder. I'm already feeling kind of safe, but this is going to be bad. Yeah, it's so tight. It's not isolated to one area. It just gets tight all through. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.